back again to F2F5 here in beautiful sunny Omaha. We are joined by Eric, John, and Ron Wolfkuhl with FBN to talk a little bit about seed and what's going on in that industry and the shift in seed, the paradigm that's shifting around seed. Ron, you want to touch on your perspective and maybe FBN's perspective on what's going on with seed right now?
Yeah, I just love what we've been able to do as FBN. We've been able to step into the seed market and I would say mix it up, but what I mean by that, bring some transparency to genetics, bring some transparency to pricing, convince a whole bunch of breeders to collaborate with us to bring us top products. And I quite frankly, I think we're changing the industry for farmers.
I think you are too. Do you want to touch on a little bit for maybe those who don't understand what you mean when you say transparency?
Yeah, so what we mean by transparency is our farmer members upload their data and they upload their pricing for seed and chemicals, and then they get back and they can see what other farmers are paying for prices. So then when they get ready to buy their inputs, whether it's from FBN or from anybody else, they can be like, hey, wait a second, you need to sharpen your pencil, all right? Because I can see 500 farmers bought this seed or bought this chemical at this price, and you're trying to charge me here? And it's a real discussion, because this is off of invoice data, all right? This is not just some, some guy trying to throw out some bullshit. This is like real numbers.
Sure, which remains anonymous, but it's real data, like you're saying.
It's letting farmers actually take their data and put it to work for them instead of big business sort of sucking all the data out, all right? This is pushing it all back to the farmer so they can use it.
That's one of the things that really drew me towards FBN was the transparency like you're talking about. When it comes to the rebagging, the relabeling of seed, I mean, that was a big eye-opener for me to see that and go, I've been a farmer my whole life and didn't really know exactly how this worked. You hear things and you kind of think you have an understanding, and then you go on Seed Finder and you look at this stuff and you go, wow, like that was there the whole time and nobody talked about it.
Well, and to find out, like in corn, I think it's about 40% is relabeled, which is not a bad thing. What's a bad thing is when the farmer's misled and they're told, you were the only ones that got this hybrid, and then you find out it's relabeled and you could have bought it for 20 bucks less, the same genetics. All right, that's where it's a problem. So not that it's relabeled, it's how people try to avoid that transparency is when it's a problem.
We had a couple dealers around us who were competing for a certain maturity hybrid, and we planted them in strips, couldn't decide which one was better. And that's when I became an FBN member and I found out they're the exact same seed. And that's the one that I always go back to and say, what's that?
You called it right. They were equal, huh?
Yeah, I can't really tell the difference. And all of a sudden it made sense. Eric, you're an FBN member and a farmer. You want to talk about what you see in seed, what you like about what FBN is doing, and kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he talked about the seed relabeling, and that's one of my favorite places because I was actually making my own database prior to FBN coming out with it. So I'm kind of a corn nerd, I guess, so I kind of was following those on my own farm, but I love going on there and checking that out all the time. The Seed Finder's great too, just comparing yields and environments, but the genetics side, I like that. I like to see a bunch of different genetics on my farm, so I typically plant from different companies, and I had some of the FBN corn this year, and it was definitely different looking, grain quality, health-wise, stuff like that. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see FBN working on their own seed. John, you planted some FBN seed as well. You want to tell us about your farm and what you like about the seed and being an FBN member?
Was a member the first year, 5 years ago. I wanted data on corn back to corn.
Okay.
We planted a lot of corn back to corn. We're on 20-inch rows. At the end of that first year, I'm going through all the data. All the information in my area, there's not a lot of 20-inch row corn and corn back to corn. It's not telling me much, so I just kind of forgot about FBN until a year ago. I got introduced again, and I was amazed where FBN was 5 years ago to last year.
There was just that much more data on what
oh my gosh, everything they were offering, yes. And then to this year, what they're going to be offering, yes. Yeah. So last year, yes, we do plant a fair amount of corn on corn. We are in a corn deficit area. Our basis is always very strong. Where the markets have been the last few years, it's just tough to make much money planting the traded corn, the cost of the seed. So 3 years ago, we started doing some conventional corn in our corn to corn rotation. Last year, everything we planted was conventional. West Central Ohio last year was difficult. We don't start planting corn until June 2nd. We like to be done by May 10th. So we struggle. We plant the corn. Most of the ground's too wet. We get the corn planted, a little bit of beans, and then we get more heavy rains. Then the second round, finished the beans, replanted some corn. Late August, September, we are dry. So real
Highly
struggle.
variable weather year.
Yes.
Yeah.
First week of August, we're thinking 185 on yield. No, we come in at 165 average. So it was real difficult. Some areas in Ohio had better yields than what we did, but it was a real struggle. We had 4 different F2F numbers out. The 110 was our highest yielding. We had right at 2,000 acres of corn. Probably had seed from 5 different companies, but the 110 day was our highest yielding.
It was the highest yielding.
It was the highest yielding.
And I'm guessing when you bring it back to a return on investment with that seed.
Correct. And it was the cheapest seed cost-wise. It was $99 a bag. Then we go up to 130.
Yep.
Then some seed was 150 and then 180.
So you've got your cheapest corn that also happened to be the highest yielding.
Correct.
So can I get a fist bump on cheapest seed highest yield?
There you go. There you go.
A lot of the corn was starting to go down just because the late season health, hot, dry weather, a lot of corn was going down. It was a struggle this year.
Yeah.
We did have most of the F2F was planted in bean ground, and it wasn't standing perfect, but overall was standing pretty good. But no, we're going to be ordering more next year.
Well, that's good to hear. You talked a little bit about how much FBN had changed from 5 years ago when you first became a member and what they offer now for products. One of those products, obviously the one we're talking about, which is seed. Ron, can you talk about the decision that FBN, when they finally made the decision to jump into seed, what the farmers were wanting and why FBN decided to make that jump?
Well, yeah, there was a lot of call-outs by farmers saying, man, we need some help here, all right? Because in seed, the genetics through various licensing agreements may come from a lot of different breeders, but it basically funnels through the multinationals, and then they get these contracts so they can really control pricing. And without somebody like us stepping in, not obliged to all that mess, all right? We had a chance to basically rebuild how you do business in the genetics world by building the breeders network, and so that was really the motivation to get in. Is if we're going to be in this, we can't do it like everybody else, and so we've stepped in. We've built this breeders network. We've made a commitment to drive out costs. All right, it's really, really hard for us to keep our costs low enough to offer $99 corn. On the other hand, that's been our focus. All right, and so when we negotiate supply contracts, technology, we need different bits and pieces of technology, whatnot. We always keep bringing our partners back to that. It's like, you need to be part of this, all right? You need to be part of changing agriculture for farmers. And there's a lot of our partners out there that are like, yeah, we believe in this. And then that's let us put together what really has turned out to be a truly great portfolio.
Yeah, I was surprised when FBN said, we're getting into seed, we're offering seed. I mean, to me, that was a massively bold move. But when you hear the reasons behind it and what you guys are working on, I mean, it makes sense. Right? You're really concentrating on how can I get more return back to the farmer. And whether that is with F2F genetics or not, the data is going to be there. The transparency part of it also comes back to your own seed.
Well, and we're just beginning. When we come along with our traded corn, then in that case, you get the peace of mind of the traits, but why not have it at the same price as the conventional corn we're selling today? So this week, I've met a couple of our farmers. We had 4 farmers this past year plant BT corn under a regulated EPA trial, first ever done in terms of a generic BT trait. And we'll have glyphosate tolerant corn. We'll have it out with about a dozen farmers this year, also collecting more data. All right, we got to make sure, like we did with our conventional corn, when we come out, we're going to knock it out of the park. All right, so we're doing the homework up front, but we're making great progress. And then when we can come out with there, instead of the $180, there's farmers out there paying $265, $300. That now we're going to back that up and give them a chance to make money.
Right. Eric, talk about your decision to plant some F2F stuff and how that trial went this year.
Well, we figured give it a shot. So we put out 10 bags of 4 different hybrids, kind of spread them around, and we had Some mixed results, kind of typical of everything. The 110 days, probably 108.
We had 108 also.
Okay,
Yep.
well, I liked 108. It was super healthy. One of the issues we've had the last couple of years, tar spot, new disease coming in, and the corn it was next to, it just shut down completely, and 108 stayed healthy and finished off pretty strong for us. 068 was a pretty good corn too, but yeah, we're gonna give it a shot again this year and plant some more and keep going. I like the price. The price is great, so.
One of the things I've heard FBN talk about is connecting the farmers closer to the seed breeders themselves. For those who don't fully understand that, myself included, Ron, can you give an elevator speech on what they're talking about, what they mean by that?
Well, yeah, in the way that the products are developed, oftentimes the breeders are very removed from the farm. In our case, not only are we bringing it closer together, we're cutting out steps of what people put a fancy label on it called the value chain, all right? But basically that means different people taking money away from you between the breeder and the farmer. And so we've cut out distributors, we've cut out foundation seed houses, we've cut out retailers to really try to collapse that. And that's one way that we can keep costs low. And the other thing is because of the data from our farmers and our research trials, we're able to provide that to the breeders so they can say, okay, so I get it on the whatever hybrid it is, it's a little sensitive if nitrogen gets low, so let's make sure that we're working on hybrids in that maturity that are going to improve nitrogen utilization, for instance. And so it's really this great relationship between the farmer and the breeder helping each other by bringing together that data.
Yeah, it's a bold move. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to ask the farmers, do you think that this is going to potentially restructure the industry as we move forward?
I think competition is good. And transparency. So I like what's going on. Some conversations with some seed corn company guys. They don't like it, so that's probably a good thing.
Sure. That's one way to look at it. John?
Yeah, I think it's going to. What I was impressed with, or what I was looking for, I want somebody to compete for my business, not my acres. I want them to put me first, not my acres. Everybody wants your business, they want the acres.
You don't want to be a number.
Correct. I want to be John Heitkamp. I don't want to be, number 63528 customer.
Right.
And with all the data, I feel we're going to get good information because every seed salesman that has ever stopped in on my farm, you got to try this, it's the best. Well, in their trials, it probably was the best. Now I think we're going to get fair, and I think through the breeding, working close to the farmer, the genetics, I think they'll be able to grow faster, better numbers, quicker numbers.
Anonymous aggregated
Yes.
data. Real data coming off real farms.
That is
from
so powerful.
Real
Yes.
farmers, yeah. Ron, what's your opinion on that? Is there a shift in the industry?
You know what, we're already seeing it. I was told today one of the major multinationals has started to inform people that they feel they need to start adding some more conventional hybrids into their portfolio. I mean, imagine that, huh? They were going to resist it like hell because they don't make as much money, but we forced that hand. And I also heard this week that one of the also, multinationals, if you will, that they are they're planning to implement zone pricing, which just stinks for farmers, all right? Zone pricing for genetics. So this is a way for them on stepping into conventional, but then basically milking out the last dollar from the farmer by having the very same hybrid priced different, whether you farm, let's say, here's the Minnesota state line in South Dakota, there might be nothing but a gravel road in between you, and you got to pay more for your seed here than here. That's just ridiculous in our opinion.
It is a unique industry, and farming is a unique industry in and of itself, but then when you add the differences in seed and how that industry works, and when you start to really learn behind the scenes, it is. Yeah, it's very different. So what brought you guys to this show? Have you been to the show before?
Yeah, I came last year. Just curiosity. I wanted to come to it, and it was a great show last year. I like the way it's led. It's more, I would say it's more farmer-led. The other shows you go to, it's like, this is what the media wants you to hear. This is what they bring to the show. Here it's completely different. You can go to the breakout panels, listen to farmers talk, The keynote speakers are great. They were last year, they were this year so far.
Very high level.
So, after
Yeah.
attending it last year, I sure wasn't going to miss a show this year.
Yep, I did the same. Last year was my first year, and I was impressed. It was fun. It's such a fun time. John?
Like I said, I was a member the first year, dropped it. Then last year was a member, came here, and as soon as I walked in the door, I was impressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out something's going on here. But then when I found out everything behind Farmer2Farmer and how it originated and where they want to go, I was totally impressed.
Yeah.
And am just as impressed today as I was last year of things they're working on or the progress they made. Yes, I was impressed totally.
Well, I know when we talked to Charles yesterday, he's always touching on who are we and really, or who are we, or who is FBN? And what it is it's a network of farmers, right? And the farmers said that one of the things they would like to see is a seed company that operates a little bit differently. And that was what really drove the decision, I think, to get in with seed. So, Ron, what do you think is going to be the future of seed within FBN? I mean, are there stuff, I imagine there's things being worked on right now, kind of behind the scenes that we're going to move forward and meet more demands of the members who drive the company.
Yeah, so we got the biotech traits coming in corn. We also are going to announce, this week a new type of wheat that's going to bring maybe the highest premium in the ag industry to wheat farmers. It's going to be very significant, whole new technology. We're also we're working on some new crops in South America right now. We're working on some drought technology. The pipeline's going to be full. We got to keep bringing it.
Yeah, I think so. Farmers are always looking for new ways to manage the risk, right? And we talk a little bit, we just talked a little bit a couple segments ago about sustainability and niche markets and being able to meet some of the new but yet old demands that consumers want to see again, and what's driving that, and the unique opportunities within farming to try and meet those. And some of the stuff being done here can really help you do that. FBN works with a lot of organic farmers, a lot of crops that are marketed as non-GMO, and they also offer traded varieties as well, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to, a lot of times in the industry, it's like they have to convince farmers it's all about yield, it's all about technology. No, it's about farmers producing crops for their customer, huh? Mm-hmm. And who's that customer? If that customer wants to buy organic, wants to buy non-GM, or if they don't care, they just want the most yield for the least price, all right, buy traded corn or the highest yielding corn or whatever you want to do. Well, we want to meet that need, all right? So we do have traded corn today. We're working on the off-patent traits to drop the costs. We have conventional corn. I think we've really put it together to be able to help the farmers meet those different markets.
Yeah. As farmers, what do you guys want with your seed? Not specifically from FBN, but what are you looking for when it comes to seed, and what do you think, how will that maybe change going forward?
Well, after last year, it's standability. And with the genetics, hopefully on stressed years like we had, we can maybe get a little more yield through the genetics over time.
Yeah, so you're looking for an overall genetic package, which is, something common to farmers. Obviously, you want the big yields, you want the cheap prices, but it has to stand as well.
Yes.
Right? It's got to be a healthy crop. Eric?
Yeah, you got to have the good genetic package there, but to figure out what placement on those hybrids on your farm, I like to have the background information. If I have a hybrid do well, I like to know the parents of that hybrid so I can maybe hedge my bets on the next hybrid I try and say, hey, that's the same female or that's closely related. So we're going to try that one out next year.
Yeah. I think it's really cool, really unique. It's a big statement for FBN to say, all right, we're getting into seed. This is what our members want, and to really listen to the members and move forward with it and make that statement. So Eric, John, Ron, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
All right.
You guys enjoy the show.